What's up, tube viewers? My name is Pax, and I'm speaking facts. And today, I'm here to talk to you guys about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I'm back like scoliosis and halitosis. And today, I'm gonna react to a tragic and horrible scene that is taking place in Ohio. A young couple was terrorized in their home, and it's baffling detectives as we speak. So we're going to go over here to Court TV and we're going to check out what they have to say about what's going on about this tragedy. So you guys bear with me. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to give my colorful commentary along the way, and we're going to see what they have to say. Again, this is Court TV. You guys go over there, check out their content, subscribe to their channel, and let's get to it.
Right now, though, we want to take you to our top story happening in Columbus, Ohio. The chief of police speaking out about the mysterious shooting deaths of Ohio dentist Spencer Tepe and his wife, Monique. Chief Elaine Bryant says that they're working to answer the community's questions, but some details just have to stay under wraps in order to protect the integrity of the case. She spoke with Columbus station WSYX and says, quote, "We know that there are a lot of concerns and a lot of questions surrounding this case, and we want to be able to be as transparent and answer as many of them as we can. Unfortunately, there are some things that we can't talk about for the integrity of the investigation," end quote.
Right away, we can see that this is a beautiful young couple. They're obviously parents. They have two beautiful young children. This is deplorable. This is unfathomable, unimaginable. We cannot begin to comprehend what would possess someone to go into this couple's home and tragically and brutally unalive them.
She says they've received numerous tips about a person of interest seen in this surveillance footage here. No arrests have been made. The Tepes shot inside of their home on December the 30th. Their two young children, a 4-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son, and a golden doodle named Larry were all left unharmed.
Wow. So not only did someone go in their house and take these people's lives, but their kids were present in the home, as well as their labradoodle Larry. God bless this family. This is unimaginable.
Let's talk about this case. I've got two great guests standing by. I want to bring them in now, see what they think. Retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer is with us, and so is retired NYPD detective and the host of the Gold Shield Show, Tom Smith. Good morning to you both. Jen, I want to start with you, if I may, please. Your thoughts on something that was reported by Fox Digital. I know you've heard about this. A neighbor reporting a 911 call 11 days before the murder. So here it is, 11 days before an Ohio dentist and his wife were killed. A woman who lives down the street called 911. It was around 2:30 a.m. to report somebody banging on her door who just wouldn't leave. Fox News Digital again obtained a 911 call placed on December the 19th to corroborate this. This is at a resident located just down their street. A woman reported that someone was banging and knocking on her door at 2:31 a.m.
So this story was corroborated by the police department, where this woman reported that someone came to her house in the middle of the night, 2:31 specifically, and was banging on her door and wouldn't go away. Could you guys imagine what that would be like, how alarming and disturbing that would be to have someone show up at your front door at 2:30 in the morning, unexpected, uninvited, and start banging on your door? And this was 11 days before this tragedy took place.
Jen, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, definitely law enforcement has to look into this situation. However, this is not the same modus operandi that we see here with somebody easily able to access the house of the Tepes. Further, I think what's important is that area that these houses are located in. It's really surrounded by some of the worst areas that exist in Columbus. So it does make sense to some degree that you might have people leaving bars and so on and so forth that would be, acting erratic like this.
Yeah, we can kind of account for people leaving bars and stuff in the middle of the night, and then there's someone approaching homes and banging on doors and escalating it to the level of violence, which this case has clearly been escalated to. That's not something typical of people that are leaving bars, even if what you consider to be the surrounding areas uh shaky or sketchy or checkered, that's not something that would typically happen. I would, in my opinion, and she's a seasoned investigator. She knows a lot more than me, and kudos to her.
Not saying it's not connected, but it doesn't seem to be connected on first blush.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight, Jen. I have a clip from Rob Misley, who is Spencer Teppe's brother-in-law. He's caring for the children right now, and he spoke to our affiliate and said that he does not believe this is random. Let's take a listen.
It just seems like it was not a random act where somebody broke in and trying to steal stuff. Like, it just seems a lot more intentional than that.
Personal.
Personal, yes.
Let me know in the comments. Give me a 1 in the chat if you guys think that this is a random attack, or give me a 2 in the chat if you guys think that this was a targeted attack. Like, somebody knew this couple, maybe it was a dispute, maybe somebody followed them, maybe one of them had an extramarital affair that was taking place. Who knows what could lead to something tragic like this? But the fact that it took place in their home, I'm speculating in the middle of the night based on that footage that we just saw earlier, and that they left the kids alive and the dog alive, it just seems a little bit personal. I'm kind of inclined to lean a little bit more towards the brother at this point, but you guys let me know in the chat what y'all think.
Just unbelievably disgusting that somebody could do something so evil.
This, not only did he lose his sibling and an in-law, but overnight now he is taking on the role of a caregiver, a parent, essentially. He has a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old now that he's having to care for while he's mourning the death of a loved one. Terrible, 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 unimaginable.
Tom, what do you say? Does it seem personal in your professional opinion?
Oh, 100%. This was a targeted murder, without a doubt, because of just all the factors that we've laid out over the past couple of weeks of, no forced entry, where they were killed in their house, the children being, not harmed, and the dog. Someone seeming to know the layout of the neighborhood and the house and the timing of it as well. I truly believe this was someone they knew from either the past or something presently happened to set this horrible set of circumstances in motion.
I agree. Yeah. The fact that the children were left unharmed, the person or persons that were responsible for this deplorable act knew the layout of the house somehow, the time of night in which this occurred. They seem to be a little bit comfortable with executing their plan.
Yes, Tom. Jen, I want to go through some details about the case for anybody maybe just hearing about it. I'm getting a lot of people reaching out to me because they know what I do and saying, have you heard about this case? This is awful. 3 9mm spent shell casings found inside the family's home. No signs of forced entry, no firearm, though, found at the scene. Spencer was 37 years old, Monique 39. Police believe the window that they were murdered was between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And they believe that they were murdered on the top floor of their house during that 3-hour period.
This is something that I actually have thought of many times, worried about having someone just creep around my house in the middle of the night while I'm asleep, or waking up and having some intruder standing over me in my house is just, it just cripples me with fear. The fact that this couple was on the 3rd floor of their house alone, sleeping, and their children were in the house and this dog was in the house, which, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I would assume would bark at somebody that it was unfamiliar with. So the dog didn't seem, and I'm assuming, to alarm this couple when at 2 a.m., when between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., when this intruder came into the house to commit this horrifying act. There were 9mm shell casings that were found in the home, but no guns. So they know right away that this wasn't something that was perpetrated by either of the victims. And there's no obvious signs of a forced entry. So that is peculiar, because how did they get in the house? So there's a lot of unanswered questions for the public and for detectives to try to figure out what's going on. And this is just a tragic sequence of events that's taken place in Ohio.
Jen, if you could know anything about this case, what would you want to know? What are the questions, I guess, burning in your mind? Maybe that's the better way to ask it as a seasoned investigator. What's troubling you?
Well, what's really troubling me is all this video that is in and around this home. Not only both Ring cameras at that home, but cameras that are across the street, also cameras that are at a neighbor. There are so many cameras in this neighborhood.
Exactly. That would have been one of the first things that I thought about, especially with today's technology and the way that things move at such a rapid pace, and the way that information is able to be seen in live time. This guy, this sketchy looking dude, is walking through the neighborhood, and in an alleyway or something in the middle of the night, there's been reports of banging on other people's doors in the middle of the night. This is something that should have already been looked into, I would have imagined. But hey, I'm just speculating, giving my colorful commentary.
And what's bothering me is I understand how long it takes to review this footage. It's unbelievable, a time pull. I want to know why they haven't asked, say, the FBI for their help, not in anything other than analyzing this evidence. I think this is moving too slow. You have somebody out on the streets that is capable of murdering 2 individuals. Yes, I agree it's targeted. But what happens if somebody starts sniffing around him? Is it possible that he would take them out? So I just think it's really important that they speed up their investigation.
This guy has a pretty distinctive walk from what I see. Even if this is, which these 2 investigators, these people are seasoned investigators. They seem to believe that this was a targeted attack, meaning something that was personal, or that the perpetrator knew the couple to some degree or had interacted with them to some degree at some point in the past. This guy, is a psychopath. There is no other way to put it.
Excellent point, Jen. Yeah, and dovetailing off of your point, Tom, I have many friends in Columbus. I mean, this is rocking the community. It has people on edge asking questions, and I can't imagine how the people on that street may be feeling. What would you say to them and anyone else who feels unsettled this morning?
I can tell you exactly how they're feeling. You have a guy out here that's a psychopath who, from what's being reported in the media, the detectives have no clue who this person may be, who is on the loose, and, as far as the public is concerned, has targeted this family, maybe even at random, gone in their house in the middle of the night, went up to the 3rd floor, and took their lives with their children present in the house. That is next level psychopathy. I can tell you exactly. They are mortified. People are buying bullets. People are buying extra guns. People are arming themselves. People are making sure that they're up to date on their payments for their alarm systems. They're making sure that their dogs are close. I'm telling you what the people are thinking. This type of neighborhood, that house does not look like something tragic. And I'm not saying that it should happen in any other neighborhood, but this in particular looks like there would be a lot of Ring cameras, pole cameras outside, businesses with camera footage. There should be a lot of closed caption camera footage, around this neighborhood, I would imagine.
Warning that this case hasn't been solved.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Just to back up a little bit, you kind of blame the police department. You have to get out there. I completely understand the integrity of the investigation. I've been there. I've had to hold on to certain circumstances when it comes to a case and releasing it. I get that. But you also have to take into account, like you said, Julie, the safety and the mindset of that neighborhood to put them at ease that it wasn't just a random act of someone knocking on doors and breaking in and murdering people. This had something personal behind it. And that, takes a lot of heat off of the neighborhood and what they're thinking. But like I said, I understand the integrity of it, but you also owe it to the community to have them at ease.
Definitely. So well said, Tom. Jen Coffeneffer, I want to go back to you. You raised an interesting point yesterday. You had us all talking. You were saying how looking at how popular Google searches were for Dr. Tepe might provide some indication. Would you kind of share some more with us about where investigators may go digitally to try to find some good direction to pursue?
So that's a pretty loaded question. And I think, to paraphrase her question, what she's asking this seasoned detective on the left, the woman, that how would they use today's technology, specifically Google searches, for this incident, and all topics surrounding this incident? How would she use that technology to more or less pinpoint or close in or look at someone specific?
Right. No, absolutely. So if you look at Google Trends, it's always very interesting to evaluate when people and places are being Googled in and around a murder. So for instance, really quickly in the Brian Koberger, I looked at that 5-week period before there was a suspect name, and you could see Brian Koberger's name before anybody knew it being Googled over and over and over again, which I think were done by Brian Koberger. In this case, you look at a flat line of this dentist, Dr. Tepe, nothing except for on November 30th. And then you see a huge spike in review of his account. In other words, web searches and so on. You compare that with after his murder, of course, it's going to spike, but a huge spike on this other day. In addition, there was a huge spike on December 5th, huge. In fact, the largest spike for that address, 1411 4th Street, there in Columbus. Why? That is the largest spike that has nothing to do with after the murder. So I would be asking myself, who Googled that? Why? I don't know that there was a party there. I've reached out to the brother-in-law. I just don't understand why these huge spikes unless somebody was looking into them at that point.
Dun, 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 dun. So that's not something that the typical person would think about when you decide to go out and commit this type of crime. So what they're saying is that there were Google searches on that address and also Google searches related to this doctor because he's a dentist. He's an established dentist in the community. And that there were Google searches, numerous Google searches that took place on Google before this event, before this tragic, horrifying event took place. And this detective, because of the way that she's able to think outside of the box, when asked the question, she said that would be one of the first things that she would look into, is because there's IP addresses, which we all know associated with these sort of searches. One of the first things that she would look into is who is the one that initiated those searches. And that's very, very smart. She looks smart too.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Boy, and to follow up, a detective, might that be worth Columbus police getting a warrant to get those records from Google and try to find out an IP address where these searches were generated from?
Yeah, Jen brings up a great point. You have to use technology to your advantage today. There's so many avenues that you can use it on a law enforcement level with warrants and just general searches, I think is a great point. And I think that's where this may break because of the digital footprints that everybody has these days. You can't get away from it. And you have to use it to your advantage when it comes to something like this, where you don't have a viable lead going forward. You have to work backwards into their backgrounds, the neighborhood's backgrounds. What other crimes took place in and around that area that might be concerning or linked into this? That one case that they have of someone randomly knocking on a door in the middle of the night. Where's that person? Why wasn't that person a radio car dispatched to see at least who that was?
Very interesting questions. And I asked those questions as well. You have an individual on camera who seemingly does not belong in the neighborhood. And if he does, then they should be willing to come forward and explain what they were doing, because if they belonged in this neighborhood or were a part of this community, they've obviously seen what's going on by now and should come forward to explain whatever, random event that was taking place that they got caught on camera, which is easy to explain. This detective has also outlined many other tools that he would use at his disposal from an entirely different perspective than the other lady. So they both seem to agree that technology will be what is used to break this case. Let's finish up with what they have to say.
In an area knocking on doors. All of this could lead to something. So you have to use technology to your advantage these days.
Okay, that's Court TV. You guys go over there and see what they have to say concerning this topic. I'm sure they have lots more great footage. There's lots of questions left unanswered, surrounding this event. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Again, give me a 1 if you think that this is random. Give me a 2 if you think that this is a targeted event. I say that loosely because I don't want to keep having to repeat how tragic this is. This is horrifying. To have someone violate you, to have someone come in and shatter a family like this, to have someone who is sick and demented loose on the streets, who in their head can somehow justify this sort of behavior, is diabolical. We have to do better. We have to come together in communities and do better. We have to resolve our differences better. We have to stop using violence to settle our differences. My name is Pax, and I'm just here to spread these facts. Y'all let me know how you guys feel in the comments section. Like, comment, subscribe, share the channel. And until next time, man, you guys take care of each other out there. Take care of yourself even better. I'm out of here, man.